Hey everybody, welcome back to the Fish Tank. I'm BadasFish80 and today we're going to be looking at the two new cards that were added to Minion Masters in the 1.4 patch. That is the expansion
Torment.
So we're going to have a look at Korrrgoth and the Cowardly Imps, see how they work, check out a deck and see some gameplay. If you're enjoying the content here on the Fish Tank, please take a moment to like, comment and subscribe. Thanks very much. Let's carry on. We're going to have a look at Korrrgoth and the Imps. Okay, so here is Korrrgoth. So Korrrgoth is a 10 mana mythic minion. So he did receive a small buff just a day after his launch, up to 1200 instead of 1000 HP. So let's have a look at him. Seal of Korrrgoth, that's how he starts in your deck. He has a Doomhammer attack, he's mythic, and if his attack kills a minion, it triggers an invoke. We'll find out exactly what those keywords do. So let's just have a look at his attack first of all. So his attack does 2 lots of that 150 damage. So he casts his hammer, as it lands it does 150, and then when he pulls it back he does another 150. And as we'll see in the gameplay, it's not a guaranteed double 150 because the first throw that he seems to do is always at his max range. So even if there's stuff closer to him, he'll throw his hammer and it will go over them and not do the damage. When he pulls his hammer back, it will do the damage though. Okay, so that's his 12 range Doomhammer. Does do a knockback, and it's kind of a knockback, but it's also a knock forward. So when it lands and he pulls his hammer towards him, he'll pull everything towards him, which is not necessarily ideal since he can get swamped if there's a bunch of units that he doesn't kill. Okay, so that's his Doomhammer attack. Then we have the fact he's mythic. Mythic, of course, has been around in Minion Masters for a good while. So a mythic minion cannot be displaced, only takes damage equal to 50% of max health from destroy effects. That's like a Wizard Puff or a Lightning Bolt, and it leaves the battlefield instead of dying. That means it cannot be resurrected by Mordar's Tombstone. And of course the other limitation of a mythic minion is you can only have one of them at any time. Okay, so it mentions on the card, if his attack kills a minion, it invokes. What's an invoke? Well, an invoke replaces a Voidborn card in your hand with a random Voidborn card that costs 1 more mana until played, but it keeps its current cost. So for example, if you have a 4 mana Voidborn card in your hand and it gets invoked, it will be replaced by a random 5 mana Voidborn card, but still cost 4 mana. So you get a better card for the same mana. The trade-off of that is that it is random, which is something I definitely ran into problems with because I tried to put together a nice Voidborn themed deck with Volko as the master, and Volko of course can't hit air, needs some anti-air support, and when your anti-air units are randomly getting changed into non-anti-air units, it can become a bit of a problem. But that's all part of the learning process with these new cards. Okay, so there's Korrrgoth. Now, as mentioned, he starts as the Seal of Korrrgoth in your deck. So this is similar to how Nirvir starts as Nirvir Slumbers, and then once it's activated, you can summon Nirvir the Fallen. So Korrrgoth starts as the Seal, which is a 5 mana spell. And what it does is it invokes all Voidborn cards in your hand. So if you have the spell in your hand, you have 3 other Voidborn cards, maximum, and when you use it, it invokes them. As we saw before, invokes replaces them with a random 1 mana better card for the same cost. Voidborn only, of course. Now, you have to play this Seal of Korrrgoth twice. Once you've played it twice, the next time it's replaced by Korrrgoth, and you can utilize him going forward in the match. So early game, it's kind of rough having to spend 5 mana. You get 3 of it back, of course, in the form of the invoke savings, but the randomness can hurt you a lot. Right, so there's Korrrgoth, and Korrrgoth was quite a complicated card. Cowardly Imps, really simple card, 3 mana Voidborn range minion. So one thing to just notice, they look kind of like Blood Imps, but they do not have Blood Pact. So you get 4 of them, they got 30 HP, they do 30 damage. One thing I have noticed, which is kind of awkward with them, is they have a very long wind-up before they start their attack, which can be very problematic, especially if one of them dies during that, because as you see here, when a nearby friendly minion dies, they all get feared, and of course fear is running away from the source in a straight line. So there's the 2 new cards. As mentioned, we did put them in a deck. We built this on stream, so we just wanted to make a Voidborn deck. So we've got Volko, who really is the Voidborn master, and we've got full Voidborn cards to try to take maximum advantage of the Invoke. Now, going forward, a few things we learned. Maybe Volko was a bad choice because the lack of anti-air, and as mentioned, your anti-air can get replaced randomly. The Doom Cleaver didn't work out particularly well because the Doom Cleaver is going to be reducing the cost of things, and then the Invoke overwrites that cost reduction. So there's kind of 2 things there that don't stack. But we had a lot of fun with it. So we got a Boomer, we got an Elite Swarmer, we got Netherbats, Swarmers, Cowardly Imps, Dragon Whelp, Reboomer, Assassin, Crackle Doom Cleaver, and Korrrgoth himself. Okay, so we took this into some ladder matches, and I'm going to be honest, it took a good few matches to get a good game, but we got there in the end. So straight away, using the seal, getting some invoked cards in our hand. There you can see our Combustion, our Wheel of Doom, and our Sacrifice, all 1 mana less because they've been invoked from a previous Voidborn card. So as always, trying to figure out what the opponent's going to do. It'll become apparent pretty soon. I get pretty unlucky here trying to do a sacrifice on the bats, but of course it lands on the Reboomer. The random cards make it interesting, but they also can make it kind of frustrating, forcing you to do things that you don't necessarily want to do. Okay, here I do a good job here, managing to just turn around that Colossus, but then the Dragon Ball comes in. Again, a little bit unlucky with the Dragon Ball, the Dragon Whelp aggro there. Okay, there's my second seal. So as you can see, the invokes have stacked. We've got a 2 mana Flame Imp, and we had a 2 mana Swarmer Totem there. So we know what we're playing against. It's Milloween, it's a Colossus, it's Spawner Fury. Fairly simple stuff, but very, very powerful and fairly common as well. Okay, so we've got through using the seal of Korrrgoth twice, so the next time he enters our hand, we will be able to use him. And as you can see, there he is, my 4th card, Korrrgoth, ready to go. There we see Korrrgoth enters the battlefield. So he is a ranged minion, but he can only hit ground, so he will need anti-air support. And here we have a little look at Korrrgoth in all his glory. Little bit of a 360. Very cool looking minion. Okay, so as we described before, he's going to do his attack, and as you can see, his hammer's going to land way behind the enemy and then pull it closer. So it only does 150 damage. It has the potential to do the double damage, but often we'll see it does not. Now, one of the things I noticed, like here we can see Korrrgoth gets stunned after throwing the first half of his attack. The second half of his attack does continue though. So there's some weird interactions. We'll see that as we go on with the stun. So double Colossus, obviously not a fun time, but guess what? Mardred is a great counter to that. So we got pretty lucky with that. And of course, as we mentioned many times, the randomness can help you, but can also really hinder you as well. So we got a good push going here. Units are getting raged because of Volko's embers on the bridge. We can see there that the big units cannot hit air. There's the Cowardly Imps. They do hit decently well once they get going, especially when they've got rage. And there we see the double hit on face. Here comes a stun, And I'm not entirely sure exactly what hits what at the end there, but the damage is done to the face, and the victory has been confirmed. And there we have it. That's a quick look at Korrrgoth and the Cowardly Imps, the 2 new cards added most recently to Minion Masters. A little bit of a look at how they work and how you can put them into a deck and potentially get some value out of them and some good wins out there on the ladder. I hope you enjoyed that. I'll be interested to see in the comments. Let me know what you think of the new cards. They definitely feel a little not perfectly tuned. Not necessarily too weak, but it's just difficult to get value out of them. I'd like to see the way that the Doomhammer changes a little bit. If it, instead of doing the maximum range, if it landed on its target, I think that would make it a lot better. You can always tell the strength of these cards when they're released, whether you see them everywhere or not. Haven't seen too much of these cards, so it'd be interesting to see what you guys think of them. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and if you are enjoying the content here in the fish tank, please, I would really appreciate it if you take a moment to like, comment and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the upcoming content. Okay, so that's enough from me today. My name's Bad as Fish80, and I'll see you again soon here in the fish tank.